The citizens' militia, the National Guard, was based on districts. So there were, for example, disciplined bourgeois battalions, though perhaps not quite as well-drilled as the modern artist believed, who drew this for a comic strip history of the Commune. And there were battalions from poor districts. We've seen some of them. Some guards lived within the ramparts, which they patrolled in freezing temperatures. They made the odd reconnaissance. Maybe they had a skirmish with the Prussian advance unit. But during the phony war, there was time and enough to play cards and talk. Talk about what? Well, they could have discussed the last issue of Père Duchesne, Father Duchesne. Duchesne, or one of his many reincarnations, had appeared in every revolution since 1789. He was always a seller of stoves, always foul-mouthed. His world was divided between the good guys, les bons bougres, the decent buggers, and the bad guys, les gens foutres. A general dissident, he wrote underlying common sense until his paper was closed down, arguing that Paris should be able to elect its own independent city council, and arguing for that Sally en masse. Political talk wasn't party talk, though. There were no parties like we've come to know. Just groups of people who shared the ideas of different reformers, such as the mild socialist Henri Rochefort, a Blanqui who believed only in armed insurrection, or Proudhon with his hopes of gradual change. France, a land of independent socialist communes. There were very few Marxists, by the way. Behind the Guards, and indeed the whole Parisian working class, was a long history of political argument. Even the strikes, which came with industrialization, had usually had a political connection. Today's magical, almost mystical word was commune. Not a new word, because Paris had once before, during the Great Revolution of 1789, elected an independent city council, which brought in some radical reforms. What was new was the appearance of the Guards' own so-called clubs, which followed the women's example by gathering in churches. There's no clear account of how the clubs came about, but it was a major step, leading to the next stage of class awareness or solidarity. This was when Guards began actually to join women in street demonstrations. In this one, the demand was for pensions for the widows of Guards or partners killed fighting. Other demonstrations called for the proper rationing of food and fuel. By now there were few trees left in Paris. And then, a huge leap, the election of the Guards' own central committee. Today, there doesn't seem to be a lot going on. Perhaps the committee was playing down its own significance. But the government and the better off had no doubt. It looked to them very much as if a dual power was developing. And some people wondered if a preventive truce with the Prussians was in the air. Could it be? The evidence pointed the other way. On the 18th of January, 1871, only one day before bread at last was due to be rationed, a reporter described how all morning and afternoon troops have been marching through the Porte de Neuilly, the National Guard spick and span and accompanied by their wives and sweethearts. Yes, the government had decided to order the long-hoped-for sally. 100,000 troops, half of them Guards, were going to break through the Prussian lines and lift the siege. Who cared about the weather or food shortages now? But properly to research and confirm the dramatic and complex events of the following days, I had to get to Paris again, if only for a brief stay.